Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. What you want to talk about? Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, Lisa, Lopre, JT, and friends. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. What you want to talk about? Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, Lisa, Lopre, JT, and friends.
Lisa, Lopre, JT, and friends. Y'all ready to cook up some conversation?
Kitchen talk.
Let's talk.
Hello.
Hey.
We are back.
We in the kitchen. I am back. Yes. I miss Kitchen Talk. I was watching.
Sending good vibes.
I was watching. And the really, really great part about this is that I have great friends and co-hosts, and they just held it down. Like, I wasn't even worried. Like, I'm not, well, maybe I should be a little worried because they held it down like really good. Like, Lisa, who? Lisa, who? Who you said on this show now? So we are Kitchen Talk CTC.
Conversations that cook.
And they do. We are so excited to be back in the kitchen. I'm excited to be back in the kitchen after a little hiatus. And thank you so much, France and JT and Kim Black and Marvin Scott for holding it down for me, for us, doing it for Kitchen Talk. So it just proves that everybody can come to the kitchen and have a conversation.
Have a good time.
And have a good time.
Yep.
And have a very good time. So we're going to jump right in.
As we always do.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes.
So I have on my pink.
Me too.
Me too.
Pink, yes. Pink earrings, blue glasses, because that's my favorite color. I couldn't get away from it. So for those who don't know or didn't hear, one other good thing about having a show is that I get to pay homage to whoever I want to pay homage to. And so we want to take a minute to honor our first and our number one fan.
Number one fan.
My mommy.
Yes, she is.
That is my mommy. My PJK, as I call her. That is my mommy. For those who don't know, my mommy passed away last month, September the 23rd, from breast cancer. So you know how you don't really think it's gonna affect you or be this close to home, but it is, and it did. She was actually, and I'll just give y'all a little bit of background. She was actually diagnosed with breast cancer in August of 2020, and she went through the full process. A little bit of surgery. She had chemo. She had radiation. She rang the bell, cancer-free, around January or March, I think. January or February, I think she had like her last radiation treatment, and everything was great. And her process was not any of the horror stories that we had heard. She did really, really well. In the process, everything worked the way it was supposed to work according to the doctors. And then in September, early September, she went to the hospital And I guess in that process, found out that it had come back and it was very aggressive. So she is a breast cancer survivor, but it did come back. So, and it was like boom out of the blue. Felt like to us and to her doctors. Her oncologist was baffled. He did not get it at all. He was like, and he was sad. Her primary cried when he found out. But if you met mommy, she got that effect on people. You love her when you meet her, and like people collect stamps and china and coins. My mommy collected people. That's what she did. She collected people. I think that might be a little bit of where I get that from. She collected people. So I love you, mommy. God rest you.
We love you.
Yes, we do.
I gotta say, man, a lot of the recipes that we've done on the show came from mom.
They
right?
did.
So it's like, wow. But she has always been a number one fan. It will still be. I think our very first show, mom was right there.
It was right there.
Well, not even the first show, the first time we talked about doing the show. She was dancing on the dance floor with me. I mean, we having a good time. So we got to pay homage. And I told Lisa, we got to say thank you to the person who was always inspiring and always pushing us to keep it going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I hit a roadblock, she'd be like, okay, so what else can we do? I'd be like, Mom, we just done. Nope, you're not.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. Keep it going. And then after a while, she learned, she has a smart TV. So she learned how to put the YouTube up on the TV. Mm-hmm. So she could watch it in there. She's like, I'll be watching Kitchen Talk on my TV. I'm like, okay.
Oh, man.
It was a mess, a whole mess. But I miss her, and but I still have her. So
yeah, never gonna leave.
That's it.
Always here.
Grateful for like the best mommy in the whole wide world. I know everybody feel that way about their mommy, but
yes, yes, absolutely.
Best mommy in the whole wide world. Always encouraging, always pushing me to do. If it fell on my mind, she's like, okay, well, when we gonna get started?
Yeah.
When we gonna get started? So love you, love you, love you. So as we continue this conversation about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I do know that it is not just women who get breast cancer, but
That's
men
true.
can get breast cancer as well.
Yes,
which is odd in your processing of the thought of it, because we never consider men to have breasts.
Right.
So, Dr. Baker, why is this? It's not called breast for them, though, right? But it
is. No, it is. It is called breast cancer in men, and there are only about 2,000, 2,500 cases a year. Unfortunately for men, because their breast tissue is so close to the chest wall, when they get diagnosed, they many times will already have some spread to the chest wall because their breast tissue is so close to the wall.
Oh, okay.
And they have mastectomies like women have mastectomies to remove that breast tissue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I to hear it, because I think
the
first person I ever heard male was Richard Roundtree.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so to me, it was like, well, he ain't got breasts.
We have a chest. We have a chest.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of breast tissue, men don't, but they do have some.
But it's the tissue that is breast tissue.
Right.
Okay. I get that. So we invited Dr. Baker on to share her triumph.
Yes.
As a breast cancer
absolute
survivor.
triumph.
Yes. This is one of my fast friends. We haven't known each other but a few years, but
Yes.
it feels like a lifetime.
Like forever. Yes,
Like,
it does.
like I'm like, what? How did this happen? Where have you been? And
Absolutely.
why you ain't come a long time ago? What's going on? You could have damaged. We could have been again.
Oh, it would have been dangerous. It would have been real dangerous.
Absolutely.
The world wasn't ready.
So her journey actually kind of started a little bit after mommy's, I think.
I had abnormal mammograms January 6th, 2021. I will never forget that day. And I was like, this can't be real, because I'm a cancer nurse. I've been a cancer nurse for 35 years. And I'm like, God, cancer nurses don't get cancer. We take care of people that have cancer. So my first response was, nah, this isn't real. That isn't what it is. 6 biopsies later, that is what it was. And it fortunately was what we call ductal carcinoma in situ, or DCIS, which means the cancer is localized to a milk duct and hasn't gone anywhere else. Hasn't spread anywhere else. And when they classify it, they call it breast cancer stage 0. Okay. But it is indeed a cancer. I also had what's called atypical hyperplasia. And so if you think of cancer as the first floor, atypical hyperplasia is the ground floor. So could be cancer next year, 5 years, 20 years, or never. I wasn't willing to wait around for that to happen. So I opted for what I guess some would consider radical treatment. I had a bilateral mastectomy and reconstruction at the same time. Yeah, because I didn't want to do 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th surgeries. I thought, let's do everything we can do and get it done. And that's what I did, and was and very happy I did it. And that was all I had to have, because I had ductal carcinoma in situ, and it wasn't what typically women have, which is invasive ductal carcinoma, which means that breast cancer has moved out of the milk duct and is somewhere else in the breast. And when the cancer becomes invasive, then you have to have usually other treatment, depending on how the size of the tumor and that sort of thing. Yep.
Wow.
But it was a journey. And then being a cancer nurse is a blessing and a curse for stuff like this. It's
we had to sit down.
Right. It's like, okay, I don't want to know, but I already know. So it's like, yeah. So that in itself was even more difficult. Ignorance is bliss. Sometimes we hear that. That is true in some cases.
No, but you're gonna find out somehow. So
right.
You're gonna find out. They're gonna have to let you know.
That's right.
I have a few clients who are breast cancer survivors. One very special client, she has gone through a whole lot and lost weight, and now she's getting ready to do her reconstruction. So it's a lot, and it's a lot. I think people don't think of how it affects just the person, but the family as well.
Absolutely.
It takes a toll on everyone who's involved. So I've always, and we're going to talk about this tonight, because I've always been an advocate that we need to find the true source and not just duct tape the situation, right? And we need to be at the forefront in finding the research for ourselves,
right?
And not just always waiting or funding other folks to kind of find the answer for us.
And we have to participate too. That's the other one of the things that's missing in many cancer trials is that African Americans or people of color aren't participating in the trial. And here's our thing: oh, nobody's going to experiment on me, and that's that we have heard that over and over again. But we have different genetic makeup than other ethnic groups. So how will we know if something's going to work in us if we don't participate in those trials. And that's super, super important for people of color to participate when you have the opportunity to participate in a clinical trial. I think that's important. And you're right. We have to start to do that research for ourselves, but we also have to be participants.
I was thinking of Miss Lack, Coretta Lack, I believe it's Lack.
Right. The woman whose cells were used.
Correct.
Right.
And I know there's a big case right now with Ben Crump and some other great lawyers trying to put in place, like, this is what we've talked about, and this is exactly what happened, right? Her genetic makeup was different. It was special, and they found out about it, but didn't say anything, you know, and took her DNA. And to this day, they're benefiting off of her DNA. They're benefiting off of her legacy, her own body, right? And then we're benefiting off of it as well. But the family got no benefit.
Right.
So it's almost this, you can almost validate the feelings of people who don't want to get involved.
Oh, absolutely. Because they did it without her permission.
Yeah, it's scary.
That's the key.
Really you hear all kind of horror stories going to the doctor. Especially with us, with Black people. Unnecessary hysterectomies and you know, sterilizations and just all of this stuff. And so now you want me to participate in something exploratory?
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a police officer friend of mine, and you know, we had this whole talk on the whole Black Lives Matter and all of that, and you know, we talked about how you have police officers who are good officers and you have police officers who are just bad officers. But you have them in all spectrums of different careers, right?
Absolutely.
Good teachers, bad teachers, good doctors, bad doctors.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's hard because, you know, you put your trust in these people. You know, again, you're here to protect and serve. You're here to make sure that we, you know, are brought back to optimal health, and then all of a sudden you using me, you abusing me, it's like
yeah.
JT Money,
Hey,
JT Plumber, right on time.
So, what is, or have they even found? I never heard this, and I was thinking about it while we were deciding to do this show. What is the root? Is there a root cause to the cancer? Period. Like, is it just in your body, and it just decided it's gonna be bad or good, or I mean, what?
There's lots of theories, and there are, you know, something, you may have abnormal cells, and then something has to trigger to turn the cancer on. And so the trigger may be the 10 years of cigarette smoking. The trigger may be a long-term unhealthy diet. The trigger may be obesity. But we don't know what the trigger is, and we don't know.
Also be environment.
The trigger can be environment. That's absolutely right. The trigger can be. We see these cases about some of the pesticides and fertilizers that people, long-term gardeners and landscapers, etc., have been exposed to, and they get this disease. And so that may be the trigger. So you could have abnormal cells for years and years and years. If you don't get a trigger, you'll never get the cancer.
Yep.
But so, you know, you hear people talk about, and this is like one of the most frequently talked about, George Burns and how much he smoked like a fiend and never got cancer. Smoked cigars, smoked cigarettes. Well, his trigger never got turned on for whatever reason. And so, unfortunately, for people of color, our triggers get turned on sooner. And when the trigger's turned on, the cancers many times are more aggressive, which is the case with breast cancer and people of color.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we should go and get checked for a lot of different things early on or earlier on.
Because the earlier it's detected, the more your chances of survival. And that's the case in any cancer. Breast cancer, particularly for African Americans, colorectal cancer, so which we know you can get a colonoscopy, polyps are removed before they become cancerous. If you have a polyp in your colon, at some point, it's going to be cancer. And so you want to have your colonoscopy so that those polyps can be removed.
And that's another one that they're saying we need to get earlier. Now they're saying 45.
Right. 45, they changed the rules. That's exactly right. So now your insurance company has got to pay for it if you are 45. And in the midst of COVID, people have put off these screenings, and we're trying to get people to get back.
Yeah.
It's hard because, again, it is aggressive, specifically with African Americans. I think all of us have lost somebody to some form of cancer, which is why one of the people I really support and push and try to share her content is Dr. Green. Dr. Green is really pushing her cure for cancer. Not no, okay, we're gonna give you some medicine, but definitely a cure. She's in the final stages right now of raising money to do the human trials. Now her trials on the mice and I guess the lab mice have been 100% successful. They were successful when she first started, but her biggest hurdle has been the same companies that are pushing take the drug, take the chemotherapy, because her treatment does not require really, her treatment started off where it did not require a drug nor chemotherapy. And her is on radio therapy because I believe it was her uncle who went through chemotherapy, and literally she saw him being burned from the inside out. And she said she needed to take action. So she had made it her goal to kind of find the best way to treat the disease. And then I believe her aunt passed away. So now she's been on this circuit for a while now. I want to say more than 5 years. She's been on just about every major network trying to push, to get the support she needs to take this to the next level.
I
feel like shocked. Like this should be on the #1 list, but it's like we're fighting not just to, you hear it all the time. We're not fighting to cure the disease. We're fighting to keep you going, keep you coming back, keep you. It's a problem.
Right. Yeah. And that's the focus that many people have about many illnesses, hypertension, diabetes, all of those diseases that affect us again more frequently than any other ethnic group. That's been the focus. And so now there's this great, huge surge of what's called functional or lifestyle medicine, where we let's talk about what is about your lifestyle that's made you be susceptible for these diseases, and what can we do on the front end so that you don't have to do medication therapy on the back end. Right.
So wellness with healthcare instead of just sick care.
Right.
We don't go to the doctor for a wellness check. Right. We go to the doctor to kind of make sure ain't nothing wrong, or we go to the doctor when something's wrong.
When something's wrong.
And I heard somebody say, when you see a symptom, then the problem is already there. Right. Instead of heading it off before you even get a symptom, whatever. So we don't really do that. I know when I was seeing a chiropractor for a little while, and he was talking about how spinal care and the nerve endings and all of that really help with your overall health. Yeah, right. But a doctor will not send you to a chiropractor. I didn't know that you just go to the chiropractor. My understanding of a chiropractor was if you was in a car accident, you hurt your back, or you fell and hurt your back, or you hurt your back. Right. You hurt your back, go to the chiropractor.
Right.
Not just to go and get your body lined up and your nerve endings and this and that, and making sure you know that you are all right in that sense. He was talking about how it helps with hypertension and diabetes and this and that and the other, because all your nerve endings go or come out or something like that from your spine.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And I was like, wow. But I have never had a doctor to say, let me send you to a chiropractor.
And people who practice ancient medicine have been doing this and knowing this forever. Right.
So we using this Western style only, which is not even. Let me just touch on the symptoms, not on the problem.
Right.
Where you have I should say a Western, an Eastern style is let's find out what the problem is. Right. Let's get to the root of what's going on. Are you spending too much time at work? Are you eating a certain food? Are you exercising? Are you, what's going on in your life that may cause XXY to happen? But we don't, we got to get back to the word wellness.
Right.
So not just the chiropractor. What about your massage therapist? What about your hairstylist? What about your nail care? It's funny, even getting your nails done affects your health.
Exactly. Because we know that when you reduce stress, you reduce cortisol, and cortisol is the enemy for all kinds of inflammatory processes that lead to all kinds of diseases. And stress causes increased cortisol. And when you do things that promote your self-care, that decreases your stress and in turn decreases your cortisol levels. Wow. And you're right, we don't practice that enough.
Taking that vacation, it's like you always behind.
Right.
Taking that, you working. You got to take some time off, get some good sleep.
Right.
It's some of the little things that we miss out on that hurts us in the long run, instead of helping us.
Right.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy. Just to think about, back to what you said about breast cancer not just affecting the individual, but the families as well, or any type of illness.
Right.
But it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which we're observing today. I remember being really, really positive while I was around mommy. And she was too, like her faith level. She was like, oh child, I'm gonna get through this. It's gonna be all right. But I remember being at church that October after we found out, and it was Breast Cancer Awareness, and I had to actually walk out because I was about to have a meltdown. Like, I can't believe we going through this, and it wasn't even me, it was her, but just the fact of us going through it as a family.
Yeah.
And then, how, Dr. Baker, what were two questions? What was the biggest help to you? And what was the biggest thing that, for lack of a better term, got on your nerve?
I think the biggest help was when I had surgery and treatment at Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa. And so the biggest help was my entire family said, all right, we going. And so everybody, and when I say everybody in my family went. My brother-in-law got to work from home. My sister got to work from home. So they did remote work in Tampa. And my mother, who's retired, we all just packed up for a month and hit the road and stayed. So the biggest help was knowing that I had support all the way around. And I literally had to walk with a walker for 2 weeks, bent over. I couldn't do any of my own self-care. And to have family to be able to do that and to not feel like they were being not a burden because they were still able to work when I was sleeping, which was a lot of the time. That was the biggest help. I think the thing that got on my nerves the most was people not understanding that as much as you want to see me, I'm in recovery. I mean, I had to keep telling people who really, some of them were fairly insistent that they come see me. And I'm thinking, I am in pain and I am tired and I am bent over like an old lady. No,
And I don't want to see you right now.
That's right. That's right. You need to stay home. I mean, like people who wanted to travel 300 miles to Tampa to come see me, and I thought, no, you need to stay home. And the insistence of people, they were well intentioned, but it was like, this is not a good time. This is not a good time.
I had a good friend who she passed away from pancreatic cancer. And she was one of my coworkers. Love her to the still, man, young, vibrant, but it got her. And when she was in the hospital, I was like, "Hey, I'm coming right now, now." And she was like, "Nah, France, no."
right.
Not coming here now because I don't want you to see me like this, right? So some of her the other friends were there to support, and I said, okay, as long as you got enough support there, I'm good. We'll still communicate via phone, but it was kind of hard not being able to be there,
right?
Because you want to support, you want to show your face and be, but there's the funny thing is, and it's crazy because you can't do that much.
You can't. You can't.
No. And in the midst of COVID,
you are literally helpless. Like, you feel that way. Like, I'm like, okay, mommy, what? But it's really nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing that I think she appreciated because she split her time between Tallahassee and Jacksonville during her treatments. So we would have her for a little while. She'll be here. And then she would be in Jacksonville with my sister Tasha for a little while. But I think she appreciated that. But it was like, okay, what else can we do? What else can we do? And just her going through that whole process, she was a trooper. Yeah. Like, I was so glad that she survived it. And we was like, just having just wonderful and thanking God. But she never... And that's probably just a person of who she is. She never really let it get her down. And she was like, I don't know, Dr. Baker, if you felt this way. She was more concerned about us.
Yeah.
Like if she saw us being a little sad, she was like, "You okay? You want to talk about it?" No, we was like, "No, mommy, we okay." But just the thought of it, that so she was more concerned.
And I think I was more concerned about my mother, because it was very hard for her to think about me. The anesthesia, for some reason, that was the thing that got her. And I think what happened is a week before my surgery, one of her friend's sons had surgery and he didn't wake up from the anesthesia. And so that was her thing. She kept, the Lord had already told me it was going to be good. So I was good. I mean, I was just like, and then surgery went 4 hours longer than they thought. And so it was just, that thing was the thing that worried her the most. So I was more worried about her worrying. Yeah. But for me, I was good. I was like your mom. I was like, and I took this lesson from my father. My father died of lung cancer. And he said during his treatment, he said, God is a healer. And whether he heals me on this side or the other side, I'm still healed. And I those words rang in my ear, and God said, I got you. So I was good. When he said that, I'm like, I'm straight.
And she was absolutely like, it's gonna be all right. And I think the blessing in it was we really spent a lot of time together, even in COVID. Because like when COVID hit, I hadn't seen my mom in like almost a year, and that is devastating. Like, because you couldn't travel, just this whole thing. And then with her being older and having different, she had like diabetes, stuff like that. Right. So even if you did go, you didn't want to risk it, right? Because you don't know what you've been exposed to. Exactly. That you might survive, but you just didn't want to give it to the elders, Right. Exactly. So it was like we did Thanksgiving over on Zoom and Christmas on Zoom, and just It's like, oh my God, we're gonna die, we're gonna die. So I was glad that it had kind of, during her process, COVID hadn't necessarily let up, but the medical facilities were allowing her to have company.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were allowed to go to her doctor's appointment, even if it was just one of us. Go to her treatments, and stuff like that. So I was very, very pleased about that, because she went through this in the midst of COVID, So it was like, you know what? y'all think y'all ain't gonna let one of us in this room? Y'all crazy.
That's not gonna happen.
Nah. But see, that's my thing. It's big business. It is big business.
Yeah.
And that's what, it's like we do need to find a cure. We need to go ahead and push it. You did it for COVID. You did it for COVID. And that's why I support Ms. Green. I support other forms of wellness and health, because
this is Ms.
we
Green.
need to find a way
Back up.
to make this not a problem anymore. Yes. We need to find a way to cure.
Sure.
Not know, okay, here's a medication, keep taking this medication every year.
Absolutely.
No, we need a cure for this. And again, I stress this with my young folks who are in STEM and going to science and going to medicine. We need y'all.
Absolutely.
We need you not just to be another minion, but to really be trailblazers,
Absolutely.
researchers, finding real answers, answering real problems. There's problems that we need to solve on so many levels, but this for sure, we need to definitely have a collective front to push this thing out so that it's not a problem for us and not a problem for our future generations. Right. So it's there. We have come a long way. So I know that it's possible. And just hearing Dr. Green's approach, I'm like, man, this is possible, but we got to support it.
Right.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Baker, with your experience as a cancer nurse, is there a one size fit all?
There is not. And that's really one of the issues. When you think about, when we're talking about breast cancer, for example, we know that African American women and other women of color get what we call triple negative breast cancer more frequently than other ethnic groups. This cancer is a more aggressive breast cancer. And what it means is there are 3 hormones that are receptive or can be receptive for breast cancer. And many African American women, when they get the disease, are what we call triple negative, which means their breast cancer does not respond to these hormones. So you cannot give them those hormones to treat their breast cancer. You must use the more aggressive forms of treatment. So then out of the gate, we're already behind the 8 ball because we have a disease that's not receptive to hormone treatment. And it happens more frequently in African American women. So, and the disease is more aggressive at diagnosis.
And it hurts us. It hurts the women who might be taking the hormone because you had the wrong doctor, right? Not understanding the process.
Right.
And then now you're behind. And of course, the aggressive treatment affects other parts of your body.
Absolutely.
That chemo is not a thing to play with.
Right. Because unlike radiation, which is a localized treatment, I radiate your chest, I'm only radiating your chest. Now, I may hit a part of your esophagus, which may make you have some difficulty swallowing. But when you get chemotherapy, it is what we call a systemic medication, which means it goes throughout the whole body. And anything that replicates quickly, chemotherapy is going to affect. That's why you lose your hair. That's why your skin is affected. That's why because that's what replicates more quickly. And so chemo absolutely can't tell the difference between a normal cell and a cancer cell. Now we are doing more targeted chemotherapy so that you can pinpoint things more sensitively or more discreetly, but it doesn't always work. It's, you know, and again, it doesn't always work in African Americans or people of color because the treatments have not been tried on us, because we go back to that.
That's why I like Dr. Green's approach, because she's using more of a radiotherapy, and is actually very specific. When she started her original trials, they told her that this is good, but people are not going to fund it in terms of the big med people, big pharma. They're not going to fund this because there's no pill associated with it. So she went back to the drawing board and actually created a pill that made her treatment even better, to focus on the specific issue, right? So she has something that's special. I think, it hurts when you're taking that chemo and then your hair, your skin, your everything. So it doesn't just take away the bad, the good is affected.
Right, absolutely. And we have yet to find a way for that not to happen.
And she has. So what I'm asking people to do is to actually donate to her cause, right? She has a foundation. She, again, is at the last trials. She needs the funds. Oral Lee, I believe, is her aunt, who passed away from cancer. I can't remember which one it was, but she named a foundation after her family member. She is literally at the last stages to get this to the next level, and it will be a game changer. Just like most things that happen in medicine and whatever, you can think of anything that has been invented by a Black person. Come on, Jen. You know, once we change the game, then it changes the game.
Absolutely,
right.
It changes the game. So we need to really start investing in our young folks as they get ready to get out in the field to solve some of the problems that we have, right?
And we also need them to be advocates. That's the thing. We need more healthcare people of color to be advocates for those people who don't have advocates. And that makes a difference in terms of, I tell people all the time, if you go to the hospital or the doctor's office with your family member, don't let them go by themselves, because they're going to need an advocate. And they're gonna, and they may just sign off because they don't understand what's being told to them. And you need to be their advocate, to ask for more explanation if you're unsure, get more clarity if you're not sure what's happening, before you allow them to be exposed or undergo things that they may or may not need. Be an advocate.
That is so important. I remember when my grandmother was living, and I took her to the doctor once. And I went in the office with her, and she was kind of like, "You gonna stay?" And I was like, "Well, yes, ma'am. I brought you to the doctor." So then when she went back to see the doctor, I went back with her.
Right.
And she was like, and I know it was kind of like, "I don't want you in my business." But part of me going back was to make sure you tell him everything.
Right.
But you know, you gotta try to be respectful to the elders too.
You got to.
You know, and so I'm listening at him and I'm listening at her, and I'm like, "Well, Grandma, what about so and so?" And she kind of cut her eye. I'm like, "Whoa."
You telling my business. You telling my business.
But it like, where's the line? Even with my mom, like, where's the line between, you know, letting them have their independence and you know, wanting to be involved?
Right.
But that is another problem that we have, because we need to blur those lines in terms of, I need to know what's our family background history.
Sure.
Right. What are we prone to? What did grandma have issues with? Grandma, grandpa, going back. Let's really take account of what affects us individually as a family,
right?
So that, you know, we can start treating things early, as we said earlier in the show. If we can start detecting these things, and we can start making a difference on the front end, not on the back end. but we want to keep everything a secret.
Yeah.
It hurts us.
It does.
Yeah.
And we can't continue to do that. We have got to try to discover what is it in your family that's a health risk. If it's heart disease, then we need to be doing something about it when the children are growing up, so that you have them eat healthy. Because when you start to get the fat cells as a child, those are the fat cells you're going to have. So then the thing is to make sure that they're eating healthy, that they're exercising. If you already know that you have cardiac history in your family, so that's when you start, and then maybe we can break some of these cycles of chronic illnesses that are occurring in our folks.
And I think it's just because we've learned to live with it, so it's not, like I think about some of the stuff we don't hear about anymore, like HIV and AIDS, because we've kind of learned how to live with it. Or even, diabetes used to be a big deal, but we've learned to live with it. I've seen that with like my mom. So like when she first got diagnosed, she was like doing really good. And even because I was on the border, like I'm on the line, like my number is like the number. And it's like, okay, so I know that I got to cut back on my starches, but I might not, do this or that or the other. So it's like you learn how to manage it, live with it, so it don't kill you, but it's still
a problem.
Right. It's still a problem. It's still affecting you, but not necessarily in ways that you see until you lose your sight, or until you have a hip replacement. Like I know somebody had to have a hip replacement because their diabetes was out of control. I'm like, a hip replacement? So it's just stuff that you don't know. Because we have spent all of this time, and it's like you said earlier, friends, with the Band-Aid and just, learning how to live with it.
And that to me, that's the biggest problem.
Cake, and as long as I don't do such and such and so tomorrow, or I do an extra, walk on the treadmill, we learn how to negotiate it. Instead of ways to get rid of it, to eradicate it.
And that's what we need to do, eradication.
And eradicating it takes a lot of work, and it takes discipline, and it takes consistency. And those two things, discipline and consistency, are one of the key in many of the illnesses that we have that we can get rid of if we have discipline and consistency.
It gets us. And Lisa, I saw that face. I already know that head shake, but you are right, Mrs. Baker. I like to say Dr. Baker. Mrs. Baker.
She is Dr. Baker.
We got to do better with the consistency. We'll do it one time. I'm on this fad diet. I got to lose because there's a wedding coming up, or it's a hot girl summer, or, hot boy summer, whatever. So you do whatever you could for just that week, 2 weeks, month, and then you back on the treadmill again. So again, we got to find out the root. And I think you said it. Now I think you did say it right, Lisa. We learn to live with it, right? And then we need to again find ways to eradicate it where we don't have to live with it. HIV and AIDS has come a long way with some of the treatment that they have given and how we deal with the disease itself. But that's another one should already cure, period.
Yeah.
But we got to believe it too. It's like, we got to, if we could do it for COVID, I'm sorry. If we could do it for COVID, we could do it for everything else. Cure.
Well, we found treatment, not necessarily treatment for COVID. They found prevention from death.
So you're right. We're still living
we haven't found cure or even treatment for COVID.
Right. And we are going to live with COVID for a long time. While our numbers are coming down drastically and the numbers look good now, we are, I suspect that this will be right in there with the seasonal flu vaccine, that we're going to get a COVID vaccine every year because it's going to change. Yeah. What happens if you get the flu vaccine early? What happens? Okay, all the strains weren't there, and so you may still get the flu.
Correct. Correct.
And the same thing will hold true for COVID. You won't go to the hospital, you won't be on a ventilator, you won't die, but you very well could still get COVID and be vaccinated. We've seen the breakthrough cases already.
Right.
So,
well, it makes sense that with COVID, we at least know the onset, right? So wearing a mask, washing your hands, doing some of the basic things will keep you at bay.
Right.
Is when you all in everybody's face, the polyps are coming out. That's when you are more likely to get the disease. So that's kind of help. Same thing with HIV and AIDS. We had to figure out what was the cause so that we can stop it from the gate. The problem with cancer is, as we stated earlier in the show, it's hard to pinpoint when it starts.
Right.
Yeah.
What causes the turn on?
Right.
So,
and because there are so many cancers,
right.
There are, you think about breast cancer, there's like 20 different kinds of breast cancer. So that's just one breast cancer that has 20 different subtypes. Think about all the cancers we know and how many subtypes they have. And that's what makes cure more difficult.
Because it won't be one size fit all.
It will not. It can't. It's impossible to be.
Because it's different types.
Right.
It's possible.
And there are subtypes. There are subtypes to the type.
Right.
And so that, and nothing is impossible. Obviously.
That's what I said. It's possible.
This will be more difficult.
I really do believe that she has found, and she doesn't even, of course, because of the stigma and because it's big business, say that it's a cancer cure, but she has found a way to eliminate cancer without the chemo, without the radiation. So it's possible, but we gotta really start putting the effort. And people say, yeah, we're doing it. We're donating money and all of this. I'm like, we got to do more so that we can find the cure and not just live with the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So the only thing I would say is, and like we say, even with our voting shows, do your research, and donate to, who you feel comfortable, donating to. But money answereth all things. That's in the Bible. So.
But I also will say, while we're waiting, early detection is the key.
Yeah, absolutely.
It absolutely is the key to long-term survival. So we must get our mammograms on schedule every year without fail. We must get our colonoscopies on schedule. We must, for men, you must get prostate screened on schedule, and we cannot continue to put it off. Oh, I'm going to do it next week. Oh, I'm going to, and next week never comes. Yeah. Until then there's a problem.
Absolutely. And then for ladies, so do men get mammograms, or is it just when they feel something?
They don't usually, because there's really not enough tissue really to get them to even get on the mammogram. Right. But and that's the other thing. They're going to feel that lump much more quickly than we would. Because there is not breast tissue for them to go through. They'll feel that. They'll absolutely quickly know that something's not right.
But they still should do self-exams.
Absolutely.
I think there's something else that we should push, is that you should examine your significant other too.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
men, and I used to tell women when I taught breast cancer classes that your significant other will find your breast cancer before you will, most likely. Because here's the reality. Men are more interested in them than we are. We got them. We had them. We know what all about. So, So absolutely. And self-exam is another key. Seeing a healthcare provider and having them do an exam, which doesn't often happen unless you ask them, because it's not normally a part of your physical exam. And so you insist. And like I said, if you're going to pay somebody for services, you pay them for the comprehensive service.
Right.
So you ask them to do it.
So communication. Know your body. That's the other thing. Like,
know your body. So you will know those subtle changes when you say, this isn't right. This wasn't here last month.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel the same. Absolutely pay attention to your body.
Yeah.
Your body gives you signs when something isn't right.
Absolutely.
And we usually ignore those signs.
Be insistent on it. Don't just be like, because we get, especially as Black women, get ignored. Like, oh, you'll be all right. And then we do it to ourselves too.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
okay, well, I'll check on that tomorrow.
Right.
Or it'll be okay. I'm just gonna lay down. Now I'll be like, let me just lay down for a minute. I'll be all right. But it could be something else,
Right.
And the thing too with African American women is the pain tolerance, right? So it's just a little thing. When it probably even is like, I saw this little video where the guys were taking this type of machine to stimulate what a period will feel like. And as soon as the guys put it on, they were falling out. No longer.
Y'all can't take nothing.
Can't do it. Like not even a full minute, they're falling out. The girls are like, oh, that's all right. That's all right. So your pain tolerance is different, and sometimes you ignore something that should be checked out because you're like, okay, I dealt with that. I can deal with this too.
Right.
We do.
We do.
And I think we said too the other thing about just overall wellness. Reducing our stress, exercising, learning how to cope with different things is very important. I'm a big advocate for finding somebody to talk to.
Oh yeah.
Finding somebody to talk to, finding a good outlet to cope with your different issues and problems. And it don't really even have to be a problem. Just decompress.
Right.
Just from a day's work, a week's work or whatever. So it is very, very, very important.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
It is very important. So I did want to put this plug in since it's all rattlers in the house.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So it is homecoming starting Sunday.
Hello.
Yes, it is. Woo woo.
So we want to shout out
Chef Shack. Yes.
Chef Shack and Chef K.
Chef K, my girls.
They are having their FAMU homecoming brunch. I went year before last. It was delicious.
Oh,
everything she make is delicious. Oh my goodness. It's so good. It's so good. There is so much going on, so much hype and buzz about FAMU homecoming. Will Packer has the whole entertainment industry coming.
The whole industry coming.
The whole industry. Kevin Hart talking about, I didn't go to college, but I'm coming.
As long as they don't give him an honorary degree, we'll be fine.
Right.
Hello, somebody.
However, if he put enough money on there,
we might have to do that thing.
Think about that for a little bit.
Right.
We might name a building after him for that.
Hey, hopefully that money can help find some of these problems we've been talking about tonight.
Exactly.
Pharmacy school, we got some geniuses on campus. We just need to help support them. So yeah, you're right. I give them that honorary.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also wanted to say we lost another great this week, Colin Powell.
Yeah.
So we want to pay homage to him as well. Rest in power. Great guy.
Man.
Like stand-up guy. Like, I don't care what y'all doing. I'm voting for Barack Obama.
Right.
I know I'm a Republican, but I'm gonna be on this side right here.
Yeah.
But he was respected on both sides of the party line. That's what I absolutely love about him.
Absolutely.
Yep. He was again, there's something about being respectful, right? I'm gonna hear your side. Side, but at the end of the day, this is the side that I'm gonna move with.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to ensure that America is moving in the right direction.
Right.
And that was key, So
absolutely,
for him to be the first Black Secretary of State. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
this guy was
He was a lot of firsts.
a
Mhm.
lot.
A lot of firsts.
I would definitely recommend that you go back and listen to just some of his speeches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had a lot of great stories and a lot of great things to share with not just with people, period. He loved young people.
Yeah.
He shared a lot of his stories. Go to YouTube and just put in Colin Powell. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But that's that model.
Yeah.
Loved his
Dr.
wife.
Baker,
Loved his family.
thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you are so welcome. Always fun to be on Kitchen Talk.
And then we are definitely, I've been celebrating anyway, your survival of breast cancer. So super excited.
Yes,
about
ma'am.
that. So excited and
Yes.
glad you came through.
You rang the bell, right?
Well, see, I didn't have to ring a bell because I didn't have chemo or radiation.
Love it.
Yeah. Nope. I just had surgery and the surgeon said you're cured. Which were the best words I could have heard in my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. And I just want to show you guys one more picture. So right after mommy's ringing the bell, she rang the bell for chemo. She rang the bell for radiation. She was all clear. She wanted to do a photo shoot.
All right, mommy.
Hey.
She
Love
wanted to do a
it.
photo shoot. And so those are some of the pictures from that photo shoot. And she said that picture with her arms up. She was like, Lisa, I was just standing there and I just said, I got victory in Jesus. And I was like, absolutely, mommy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Even now.
Even now.
Even
That's
now.
right.
And it was so, oh my God. So, you know, when you do a photo shoot, the photographer is only going to do a few shots, you know, for your money.
Mhm.
Tasha say he followed that woman around everywhere, wherever she went, and he just snapping. I'm like, oh my God. That's just how she was. That's
exactly how she was. You just did it just because. Hey, that's my girl.
We got 1,000 pictures, and we only paid this much money. But yep, I love you, mommy. I love you. I miss you. Thank you guys for letting me do my tribute to our first and number one fan,
number one,
PJK. I love her. Thank you, Dr. Baker, for sharing your story with us.
You are so
Appreciate
welcome.
you so much. That is my girl right there. That's what I tell you. Oh my goodness. Woo. Everybody need a Dr. Baker in their life.
Hey.
They need one.
You have literally became like the Kitchen Talk regular too. Like
I love it. I love it.
Some great advice, man. Thank you for coming on. We love it. We definitely do.
Absolutely.
It's been great.
So we will be back next week, next Thursday, right here. I know it's homecoming, but we'll find something to talk about.
Oh
France,
my!
France look like he might not be here. And maybe I probably should take my our camera on campus. And
yes.
All right, hey, this is what we're doing.
Kitchen Talk on the scene.
Right, absolutely. If I could figure it out, you know I would. So thank you guys so much for joining us. If you are watching us on YouTube, please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe button. If you're watching us on Facebook, hit the like button. Never miss another show. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you, friends, for holding it down. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Dr. Baker.
Absolutely.
And we will see you guys next week. Bye.